Just reach out and touch me. Come on, sugar, let me know. Do. That's for my best friend. That's for you, Marcy. I don't call her by her real name anymore. Yeah. She's not Mary. She's always Marcy. I'm her bubblegum.
Awesome.
She's the Marceline to my bubblegum. Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I'm Rich.
I'm Jessica.
And welcome once again to Charlie Manson's
Fanny Pack. And this is Opal.
Yeah, not that you can see.
No.
Yeah.
She's just walking across, being stocky. And that's fine.
For those this is your first time listening, Charlie's Manson Fanny Pack is a production of Nifty Rocks Media, along with Stoner's Point.
We're just kind of in a weird spot right now.
Yeah. We are kind of. Me and Jessica's podcast, Charlie Manson's Fanny Pack, is actually more of a cult and serial killer podcast than me and Mike, which basically is delving more into like discourse about different debatable topics. Whereas me and Jessica like to sit around and talk about fucked up shit.
Yeah. That's the premise of our marriage. Let's talk about fucked up shit.
Yeah. So, yay! And what are we talking about today?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
I don't know. You told me the words and I didn't comprehend the words. To be fair, I have a headache. And I have been very sick for a while. We both have been very sick for like 3 weeks. What are we talking about?
Well,
I know it's Norwegian black metal.
Well, it's not just Norwegian black metal.
Okay.
Right? So it starts with Norwegian black metal, but it spread quickly to other parts of Scandinavia and then Europe. We are going to be talking about the black metal murders.
I don't know anything about that. I should probably turn my phone off or on vibrate so it doesn't make sounds because I have really cool ringtones.
Mine is still snake jazz and Too Many Cooks.
Too many cooks. Too many cooks.
Of course, after these past few days of listening to death metal and black metal and all this, maybe I'll change it. I've always been a fan of black metal. And, when I first started getting into it, I didn't know about the weird history behind it. There are multiple murders, lots of pretty dope church burnings.
That sounds pretty cool. That sounds right up my alley. Unfortunately, the style of the music is probably a little too heavy for me.
Oh, it is. It was designed as such, right?
I have epilepsy, so it probably would. Maybe. It might be too much for me.
I wouldn't go to a black metal show. That's for sure.
No. That just sounds like there's going to be lots of flashy lights and lots of smells that I could probably have a seizure.
The smells, yeah. Well, we're going to talk about black metal and it smells.
It smells. Oh Lord.
Oh my goodness. And I mean, there was a lot of bad shit too. You gotta remember that, it came out of a culture that used to be Norse, and so it saw, the people in the black metal groups, especially in the very early days, they saw, they saw their wondrous existence, in a place that has, the happiest people on earth, right? Fucking Norway.
Yeah, we're in the process of learning Norwegian.
Yeah, well, I'm one lesson in.
I'm actually 2. I'm up to almost to my 3rd lesson now, the 3rd thing of it in duo. But I also am I jump between the Norwegian that I just started yesterday, and I've been doing Japanese, Korean, Chinese, French, and German because I have ADD and I need to continue. I need to learn. I like learning languages. So That's who I am as a person.
So yeah, in the early days, it basically was a reaction to normal life there. It was the only thing they could do to really rebel. I mean, everything is so liberal and accepted in Scandinavia and Norway that they really had to go out there. And a lot of them saw it as kind of a return to like their old the Norse gods of Odin and whatnot. The particular sound, like they're that high, that's actually comes from the Norse. Apparently, there's a legend where Odin uses this like high pitched falsetto voice to sing. And it it's actually based in that.
You learn something every day.
Yeah. They got started off with, there was a band the first black metal band actually came from Britain. They were called Venom.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, they were called Venom. And they adopted this whole like satanic imagery and whatnot. And it was really just marketing and a way to get laid, right? For them.
Yeah.
Well,
so it sounds like just from that premise, a way to take back and rebrand in a way.
Yeah, this was during the Satanic Panic.
Jesus Christ.
In America, the American Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
And so there were these stories of all these like killer Satanist cults that were popping up all over America that never actually existed, right? Not in, but it worked its way across the ocean. And what they're hearing is these stories, right? And then bands like Venom come on the scene, purporting this satanic imagery and whatnot. And by the time it reaches Norway and finds, what is his name? There it is, Oystein Arseth.
That's a name.
Yeah, he changed his name to Euronymous, which is Greek for death, I would think. Greek for dead, Orlando.
Just King looking at some of their pictures, it very much so reminds me of just the face painting. It reminds me of Kiss. It has that. I know that sounds like really bad. Like I'm like trying to trash. Just in that picture, it has that. It's that clown makeup. In a way.
It's actually, they call it corpse paint.
But but
there's actually a reasoning behind that, right? So this guy, this is Euronymous right here.
Okay.
All right. Now Euronymous, on the right. He was basically the guy who created what is called true Norwegian black metal.
Okay.
This guy, he was played by Rory Culkin in the movie The Lords of Chaos.
That I could not pay attention to last night. Got it.
Yeah. This guy over here is dead. Literally, and that is his band name.
Okay. He's both figuratively and literally dead.
When he was, when Mayhem, which is the band that Euronymous started, it was the first, Norwegian metal band. When he started it, they were looking for a vocalist. Okay. And Dad sent them this letter, like an envelope, and in the envelope was a tape of him singing and a dead mouse crucified to some popsicle sticks. And it had been in the mail and rotting, so there was this rotting mouse in the envelope. And they immediately saw that and listened to him sing.
They're like, you're the guy.
You're the guy. So, and Dad had a disease known as Cotard's syndrome, or Cotard's disease. Let me make sure I'm right on the Cotard's syndrome. All right.
That's what you were telling me yesterday. Yeah. Was what's his face?
With Richard.
Not Ramirez.
Not Ramirez. Richard Chase.
Chase. Okay.
Yeah. Cotard's syndrome is a rare mental disorder in which the affected person holds the delusional belief that they are dead, do not exist, are putrefying, or have lost their blood or internal organs.
So did he get when did he get diagnosed with that? Do you know?
I'm not sure that he actually did. It was just when you look at his life and the things he said and did, the way he acted.
You can put two and two together. Right. That it makes a lot of sense that he most likely suffered from this.
He actually died when he was a little kid.
What?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see. Let me go to his page.
So he what happened? Ice skating accident?
Yeah. As a young child, he suffered. Yeah, he suffered from internal bleeding when his spleen ruptured after what he claimed was an ice skating accident. However, in the Swedish Metal Book, which translates to blood fire death, his brother stated that Dead was frequently bullied in school and one day sustained a ruptured spleen as a direct result of a severe beating by bullies. Because of the injury, he had to be rushed to a hospital where he was for a time declared clinically dead. After a few years, the incident resulted in his fascination with death, and it went on.
That sounds like some like Constantine shit. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, well, I'm dead, so I guess I can see things.
Yeah, as a teenager, he developed a taste for heavy metal music, bands like Black Sabbath, Kiss, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, AC/DC, Motorhead, Venom, Metallica, Bathory, Sodom, and Merciful Fate. I love Merciful Fate.
I don't. I probably heard them, but I didn't know who it was.
Merciful Fate is one of my favorite bands of all time. I've loved them since I was 14 or so.
That's the thing. I mean, it's like I've heard a lot of these songs, but I never knew who it was by, and it was like a lot in passing. So that's just kind of where my metal lies. Where I've heard stuff, I just never knew who it was.
So before shows, Dead would like bury his clothes in the ground for a few days, so it'd have the smell and the look of being from the grave.
Yeah, like.
And he asked them repeatedly. He asked members of the band repeatedly to bury him, so that he would be pale and you know what?
No.
They're like, no, you're actually alive, and that will kill you. And he's like, fine. So he painted himself, and that's where the corpse paint came from.
Okay.
During one tour with Mayhem, he found a dead crow and kept it in a plastic bag. He often carried it with him and would smell the bird before going on stage to, quote, sing with the stench of death in his nostrils. He collected dead geese and kept it underneath his bed.
Yeah. Whereas that's not on the, that dude, what was his last name? Richard Chase. That's not on, like, his side where he was, like, actively going out and, like, you know, killing things.
Well,
and
I haven't got there yet.
Oh, well, then never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, you're going to hate Dead. Yeah. Dead would cut himself while singing on stage. He slashed his arm with a broken bottle on stage in February 1990. Actually... yesterday, February 1990. He had to be taken to the hospital after the gig, but arrived too late, and so it was no use to give him stitches. He eventually healed on his own from that.
Yeah.
And one thing they hated, him and the rest of Mayhem would throw out people at their concerts they called posers. Reciting the events of one particular show, he claimed, before we began to play, there was a crowd of about 300. But in the second song, Necrolust, we began to throw around pig heads, like literal heads of pigs. At the end of it, there were only about 50 left. He and the other members enjoyed this sort of practice. He concluded with, if someone doesn't like blood and rotten flesh thrown in their face, they can fuck off. And that's exactly what they do.
It's like, I enjoy your music, I just don't like that.
Yeah, Dead was, and this whole thing with the posers and they're the you can't have it, you know, the pushing people away. That was actually more of Euronymous. He was like a marketing genius when it came to this. He put this thing out there that nobody said they wanted, you know, that everybody was against them, and then he said instead of us not being wanted, you can't have this. You fucking posers and shit. You can't be coming in here. You can't come to our shows. We don't even want you to listen to our music. They actually put this thing that they wanted to make music for people to kill themselves to, right? They wanted their music to make people commit suicide.
And
murder and what have you.
That's rough.
I think a lot of it is this theater. Because they're all Lord of the Rings D&D nerds. Every one of them. Every fucking one of them. I mean, and it shows.
It's like the music itself probably would make really
look
great.
Look at the album art for Bathory. You know?
Yeah, that's some D&D shit. Did you?
Well,
that's an ad.
Yeah.
Like it probably would be like great soundtracks for like a lot of.
Yeah, that's by the way, this right here, that's another trademark of Norwegian black metal. Band names you can't fucking read because it looks like
thorns.
Yeah, it looks like a pile of sticks.
It's very see. This is very coming like full circle for me because when I got this tattoo on my wrist, it says "Beloved." But it has thorns and stuff, like around it. Like
it's kind of death. It's black metal-y in its own right.
Yeah, and now I didn't know this at the time. This was my second tattoo that I got for when I was self-harming. Just it's a constant reminder for me. So like, you know what? Don't do that again. Let's not go down that road. So, like, now looking at him, like, now it makes sense why that artist looked at me a little weird.
Nobody actually, another thing that he did, it doesn't mention it here, was he hated cats.
I love cats.
He would hang cats, he'd go hunting for cats.
I would be not a fan.
I was not a fan of this.
No. I would.
I don't.
You're just hogging that joint.
You ain't been smoking with me for 2 days, and all of a sudden you want to hit it?
Yeah. Well, I haven't been. This is the first time I've taken medicine in 2 days. So
yeah, that's the thing. You're going to kind of hate Dead, and really though,
I already hate him. I'm glad he's dead.
Aside from that, he was actually.
His music was probably great.
His voice is amazing.
That's why I'm like, as an artist, he's probably great. His practices were not.
I really love listening to him sing. He encapsulates, like, everybody that sings black metal after him, it seems like they're trying to imitate him.
He set the standard.
He set this. Like, his voice simultaneously sounds like despair, hate, loneliness, rage, pain. I mean, you can hear it all. You know,
that's what I think of. I know this sounds like very where you're just gonna laugh at me, but when I listen to just like My Chemical Romance, just from the punk rock perspective, because they are classified as punk rock. There's definitely early songs in their albums that you hear this very lonely sound. So like I get that. But that's just a band that I love that is always in my heart. But I get it.
Yeah. During one tour, Dead found we already went through that part. Where was I going down here? Oh, that's right. But most of the people, there wasn't much bad to say about Dead, right? He was, other than the cat killing.
Other than, yeah.
You know, which in retrospect to the things that happened later, it escalated in other ways, but not with him personally. According to one band member who went by Faust, who later we'll be talking more about Faust later.
Oh, Jesus.
Dead wasn't a guy you could know very well. I think even the other guys in Mayhem didn't know him very well. He was hard to get close to. I met him 2 weeks before he died. I'd met him maybe 6 to 8 times in all. He had lots of weird ideas. I remember Arsith was talking about him. He's referring to Euronymous. Mm-hmm. Was talking about him. He said he didn't have any humor. He did, but it was very obscure. Honestly, I don't think he was enjoying living in this world, which, of course, resulted in his suicide later.
Yeah.
He didn't even see himself as human. He saw himself as a creature from another world. He said he had many visions that his blood was frozen in his veins, that he was dead. That's the reason he took that name. He knew he would die.
You see, that makes a lot of sense from someone who literally was dead on the table. I'm sorry, but like you've seen some shit.
Yeah,
like, like you can't not say that from the spiritual perspective that you have not seen the other side and coming back and being like, stuff's a little fucky. Yeah.
One of his lyrics that kind of I want to read parts of just kind of illustrate the way he was. This is from his song with Mayhem's song "Freezing Moon." Everything here is so cold. Everything here is so dark. I remember it as from a dream in the corner of this time. Diabolic shapes float by out from the dark. I remember it was here I died by following the freezing moon.
Oh, that's...
It's night again, night you beautiful. I please my hunger on living humans. Night of hunger, follow its call, follow the freezing moon. Darkness is growing, eternity opens. The cemetery lights up again as in ancient times. Fallen souls die behind my steps by following the freezing moon.
That's really pretty. That's beautiful.
It really is. And these are kind of what's the word? It's like that kind of samples what all the lyrics are on these songs, that when you hear it, it sounds like demons fucking. But when you actually like hear the lyrics or able to read the lyrics, it's like, oh no, it's actually like really deep and sorrowful poetry.
Yeah.
It's always melancholy and dark, but there's its own beauty to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of metal artists that are like that.
After a while, Dead's social situation and his fixation on death caused his mental state to worsen greatly. He would casually cut himself in the presence of his friends, who would have to subdue him and treat his wounds. Although it upset many of his friends, Euronymous, however, grew fascinated with Dead's suicidal ideologies because he felt extreme negativity fit Mayhem's image. And according to them, he encouraged Dead to kill himself. One of the band members, Mannheim, later said, I don't know if Oystein did it out of pure evil or if he was just fucking around.
You see, like, on the flip side, I am glad I did not discover black metal. I had friends that were on that side, but I never was, like, coordinated enough to, like, go off campus with them and stuff like that. Just our schedules never lined up like that when I was in high school. I'm glad I never found it then in the mental state that I was in, because I most definitely would not be here. Most definitely.
You know, I mean, black metal, I always could use it as a mirror, right? I was able to recognize it, and I was like, somebody else is saying these things.
I wasn't mentally healthy enough when I was
It's not meant for mentally healthy people, dear.
Yeah, I was not mentally healthy enough, and especially at the right moment and the right low on all the medication I was on. Like, if I would have found that when I was in the drop of everything, and I remember when I actually like started self-harming and I tried to kill myself, I would not be here. I would not. Like, it's still there. It teeters on the edge, but like, I'm medicated enough now to know that I have to go through that emotion, and I can look at these things now as, wow, that's really reflective. That's really pretty. I find that peace in death now, and the beauty in it.
It gave me a way to put my thoughts into words and sounds, right? But
yeah, we're on very different sides of that spectrum.
Yeah. By 1991, Dead, Euronymous, and Hellhammer,
that's
one of their band
Warhammer? Warhammer, you said?
Well, I guarantee you they played Warhammer.
I didn't mean to.
We're living in a house in the woods near Krokstad, which was being used as a place for the band to rehearse. According to Hellhammer, Dead spent most of his time writing letters and drawing, just sitting in his room, becoming more and more depressed. Necro Butcher, another band, hang-around guy, said that after living together for a while, Dead and Euronymous got on each other's nerves a lot. Hellhammer recalls an anecdote where Dead once retreated outside to sleep in the woods because Euronymous was playing synth music that Dead hated. And you know what synth music is, right?
It's just like synthesizers and shit.
Kinda, yeah. It's like Gary Newman and, If You're Blue and You Don't Know. You Can Dance If You Want To. That's synth music. That's the shit he was playing that shit. And Dead hated it. Because he was part of this whole culture where you don't laugh, you don't do things like that. It's part of this whole real serious, everything is about pain, everything is about darkness. You cannot take the time to laugh. There's too much darkness.
The One Ring got a hold of him.
We're talking about the One Ring. Because boy, howdy do they love them some Tolkien.
Oh boy.
Where was I? Where was I? Because he went out of the woods.
Yeah.
Euronymous ran after him, began shooting in the air with the shotgun to piss him off further.
He's a dick.
Euronymous was a dick, but at the same time, by the end of his story, I end up not hating him.
Okay.
But Varg Vikernes of Burzum, and he is a big player in the story, claims that Dead once stabbed Euronymous with a knife during an altercation. Vikernes also claims to have sent Mayhem ammunition, including shotgun shells, as a Christmas gift, although he claimed those were not the shells that Dead used to kill himself, and that he instead saved a special shell, particularly to be used for his suicide.
Goodbye.
On
who you are.
April 8th, 1991, while he was alone in the house one day, Dead used a hunting knife to slit his wrists and throat, and afterwards shot himself in the forehead with a shotgun. He left a brief suicide note, which states, "Excuse the blood, but I have slit my wrists and neck. It was the intention that I would die in the woods, that it would take a few days before I was possibly found. I belong in the woods, and have always done so. No one will understand the reason for this anyway. To give some semblance of an explanation, he's bleeding while he's writing this letter.
Jesus Christ!
Of an explanation, I'm not a human. This is just a dream, and soon I will wake. It was too cold and the blood kept clotting. Plus the new knife is too dull. If I don't succeed in dying to the knife, I will blow the shit out of my skull. Yet I don't know. I left all my lyrics by Let the Good Times Roll. Plus the rest of the money. Whoever finds it gets the fucking thing. As a last salutation, may I present Life Eternal. Do whatever you want with it. Pell," which was his actual name. "I didn't come up with this now, but 17 years ago." Which was when he died.
Yeah.
Dead suicide immediately starts some shit. Euronymous comes home first. He had to, climb through an open window in his own house because all the doors were locked. And he found Euronymous. And he didn't call the cops right away. He didn't call his friends right away. He thought about it for a little bit. And he went downstairs. And then he got back in his car and he drove to the gas station and he got a disposable camera. And he came back and he moved Dead's body a little bit so that his face was more showing. And scooped some of the brains around to make it more gory look more gory in one photo. Snapped a bunch of pictures, collected some fragments of the skull, made necklaces that he gave to people that he thought were important in the black metal movement out of those skulls.
Yeah.
He then picks up the phone, and the first call he makes is to, what was it? Does it say here? It doesn't say who he called. I think it was Hellhammer. And he's like, listen, you've got to come back to the house. Dead has done something really cool. He's like, this is a great moment for the movement. And there used to be copies floating around. There still are. I couldn't actually find a picture.
Yeah.
It's mostly been scrubbed from the internet. But their next album that they released, picture of him with his brains blown out.
Jesus Christ.
He, it caused a rift between Euronymous and some of his friends who were disgusted by his attitude towards Dead before and his behavior about Dead's death afterwards. Necro Butcher ended his friendship with Euronymous and left Mayhem. He later speculated that Euronymous had willfully left Dead alone in the house so he'd have a chance to kill himself. Dead's suicide was said to cause a change in the mentality in the black metal scene and was the first in a string of infamous events.
Okay.
Right.
That sounds ominous. I don't like that.
What?
It's like, so, about his death, though. Yo, I'm telling you.
It's my thoughts from the different things I've listened to and watched and read over the years about this. Mm-hmm. It's my thought that, and the movie actually showed this too.
That I couldn't pay attention to.
Yeah, the movie actually agreed with me on this. Is that Euronymous actually really cared about Dead.
Yeah.
This is Euronymous' house that they are at, right? He brings Dead in off the streets, basically, and begins this whole movement with him. And,
he's the right-hand guy.
He tortured him a little bit, but, I mean, look at him. He's torturable.
He's a little brother that I never wanted.
I would actually fuck the shit out of Dead.
He is your type.
He really is.
Yeah, he's hot.
yeah, he died. He's 22 when he died. And that's another thing to remember. Most of these guys are kids between the ages of like 16 to 25 or so.
Yeah. Most
of these people are kids.
He literally died probably like...
He didn't even make it to the 27 Club.
No.
No. But he belongs in it.
Yeah. But he, because I was born in February of 92.
Right.
So, I was like thinking in that perspective, I was probably conceived like a couple months after his death. And that's kind of crazy.
I wonder if I can actually, now that I know the name of the album cover.
See if you can find it.
Yeah.
Ooh-wee. What's the name of the album?
Dawn of the Black Hearts.
Oh.
Yep, there it is.
That's brains. That's brains.
That's the
That's brains.
Yeah. Like he rearranged stuff a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Dead. He even started a rumor that he ate some of Dead's brain, like cooked and ate some of Dead's brain. But he intentionally started that rumor, and the reason for this, where was it?
You have so many tabs open.
All right. Euronymous used Dead's suicide to foster Mayhem's evil image and claimed Dead had killed himself because black metal had become too trendy and commercialized. Necro Butcher speculated that taking the pictures and forcing others to see them was a way for Euronymous to cope with the shock of seeing his friend's body. That's what I found Josh, right? And it wasn't nothing like that.
Yeah.
I understand. Because I still see Josh's face in my mind, right?
Yeah. Okay, I
really believe that Euronymous...
I can understand that.
But I think it I believe
it's speculation from the outside.
Yeah, but I believe that's more like it. Like on one hand, it is the image, right?
Yeah.
That's being about that life, right?
Yeah.
And Dead was about that life.
Yeah.
He and the person, like I said, Euronymous and Dead really made the sound that became black metal, and in all these black metal bands at the same time, there's other bands going on too. You got Mayhem, which is these guys, and you have Morbid, which Dead used to be in. You have can't remember who the hell Hellhammer was with. He was with another band. And there was Bathory. You have all of these bands. And then there's this one called Burzum, right? That and Pete, the way music got handed around back in the day was people would get a tape and they would copy it and then they'd trade it to somebody for another copy of a tape. Yeah. So Burzum was getting around a little bit. Okay. And Burzum means let me see if I find an easy way to do this. No, I'm just going to do it this way. Burzum comes from the Lord of the Rings. It was a one man band, just like the guy who does Metalocalypse. It's all one guy, right? Mm-hmm. Burzum was the same thing, and everybody in Metalocalypse is based on these guys. Like, it's like a character of these guys. They really are like this.
Oh, wow.
Even down to Toki and Swiskar, like, hating each other because, like, the Norwegian black metal scene spawned the Swedish black metal scene, but they hated each other, kind of. There's, like, this weird rivalry, even though you can't tell the difference when you listen to them. Burzum is a Norwegian music project founded by Varg Vikernes. Remember that name? He also liked to call himself the Count.
One.
Varg. Varg is a poser who was.
Yo.
All right. So when Varg first started coming on the scene, right? When it first started up, when Mayhem was first getting started. He came to a Mayhem show and he tried to approach Euronymous. And Varg had on this stupid vest that had like scorpions and AC/DC and shit like that. And he's like, hey, I really enjoyed your show. I love your music so much. I love your message so much. And Euronymous just looks at him, points, he's like, scorpions? And just leaves him. Varg, his name's actually like Christian, I think. Christian Vickerson. But he just goes home, he's pissed, he rips off his thing, and he says, I'm going to make my own black metal. And it's going to be way more evil than Mayhem.
Oh my God.
It's going to be the most evil music that anyone's ever heard. I'll show you, Euronymous.
Okay, Flanders.
So
what happened?
He goes home and he makes his own studio and he records a demo tape of himself. And it is way better than anything Euronymous did. Like, wow. Burzum is fucking awesome. Like, I was listening to Burzum when I went to the weed store and whatnot, Burzum is fucking, old school Burzum is dope. Varg Vikernes is a shit stain of a human being. But he started off as a poser, and finally he comes back around a few years later. And by the way, Burzum, which is I wanted to get into, the word Burzum means darkness in the black speech, the fictional language that Sauron spoke in Lord of the Rings. So he literally named his band Darkness in Nerd. Like, he spoke fluent Nerd. He still speaks fluent Nerd.
He had a fedora and everything, probably.
Oh, God. You gotta see it.
Oh, my God. Am I right?
Well, kinda. Let me go here. There he is now. He was actually pretty sexy back in the day. Like, where is he with his corpse paint? Like, hold on. Hell, even then he wasn't bad looking.
No, he aged pretty well.
He has a weird scar on his face. Vikernes. There he is. There's old Varg.
Jesus Christ.
And Varg, he's also a fucking idiot. We'll talk about his stupidity shortly.
Okay.
He began making music in 1988 with this band Kalishnikov.
Well, okay.
The following year, he changed the band name to Uruk-hai, after the creatures from Lord of the Rings. In 1991, he played guitar for the death metal band Old Funeral, which also consisted of members who would later form the band Immortal. He appears on Old Funeral Devoured Carcass album. He left in 91 to concentrate on creating. This is around the time where he meets Euronymous, is when he's fucking around with these guys, Old Funeral.
Okay.
He leaves Old Funeral after Euronymous rejected him, and starts creating his own musical vision. He had a short-lived project called Satan Nail, along with Abath Doom Occulta. He then began a solo project under the name Burzum, meaning darkness. Soon after recording 2 demo tapes, he became part of the Norwegian black metal scene. Then he basically used that to get attention from Euronymous, who had recently just performed Deathlike Silence Productions. Deathlike Silence Productions. Right?
Jesus, there's so much. It's like an onion.
I know. Euronymous.
Ogres are like onions.
We talk about how how much white privilege is involved in all this.
Oh, lordy.
Euronymous, his parents had money.
Okay.
They funded his band. They funded him to have this house that Dead killed himself in, and then he went. After Dead killed himself, he went to his parents, all sad, like, I don't know what to do. What can I do? What will be the future of Norwegian black metal? Dead is gone. Dead is gone, and with it are my dreams. So they're like, well, why don't you just get a place for your fans, and you can sell records and whatnot. Oh, Mommy and Daddy, that would be so good. And they buy him, basically, a record store with this dope-ass basement and loft and shit that's attached to it. And he turns it into a record store. He names it, oh, God, what was the fucking name of it? Helvete, which is Norwegian for hell. And his initial plan was to have it completely dark inside to where people wanting to buy records would have to carry around torches and shit. I shit you not. And wow. he wanted to drag like dead animals from the highway and like put it up underneath, the floorboards so that there would be a stench of death as kind of a reminder to Dead. But everybody was like, no, that's kind of dumb. So what he did was he opened it up and he made it like really dark, like candlelight dark. Okay. So people would be in there, and they'd buy records here and there, but mostly what it was a place for the black metal scene. It was a home for them. Yeah, Helvete. There we go. It says here on an article on Wikipedia about Helvete and the Black Circle, Mayhem guitarist Euronymous, there's a picture from it.
Wow.
In the basement of the place. Mayhem guitarist Euronymous was a central figure involved in the formation of the Norwegian black metal scene, which he almost single-handedly founded. That's in quotes because he said that. Wow. Euronymous was a marketing fucking asshole. Anytime somebody would do something, and this becomes a problem later.
He markets it?
He would be like, oh yeah, remember when I told you to do that? Oh yeah, he's like, look, he did this thing, and I told him, they were talking about what it would be like to stab a knife into a human being. And I'm like, that's what we were talking about the other night. I said that. He always would try to, like, be the biggest and baddest so he could sell black metal. It worked. I listen to black metal. But after Dead, he, the band's kind of done for a while. And then Varg comes back in. He took some members from Emperor. He took Varg Vikernes and Snorri Blackthorn from Thorns. He founded his independent record label called Death Like Silence Productions, all on Mommy and Daddy's dime, which was based at Helvete. It released albums by Norwegian bands Mayhem, Burzum, Swedish bands Merciless and Abruptum, and a Japanese band, Psy. Euronymous, Varg, and Emperor guitarist Thomas Samoth Hugen lived at the shop at various times. Emperor drummer Bard Faust also lived and worked there. And remember, we're going to be talking about Faust.
Yeah.
The shop's walls were painted black and bedeckled with medieval weapons, posters
Bedazzled.
Posters of bands and picture discs, while its window featured a styrofoam tombstone. During the time it was open, Helvete was the focal point of the Norwegian black metal scene.
It's like, yeah, you want to go take a trip to hell? Sure.
He said that the opening of Helvete was, quote, the creation of the whole Norwegian black metal scene. Within a few months of Helvete opening, many young musicians had become obsessed with Euronymous and his ideas. And soon a lot of Norwegian death metal bands transformed into black metal. Amputation became Immortal, Thou Shalt Suffer turned into Emperor, and Dark Throne swapped their Swedish-inspired death metal for primitive black metal. Dark Throne is so good. Most notoriously, Old Funeral's guitar player Varg Vikernes had already started Burzum. Right? So this is basically the entire scene.
Everyone's converging at one spot.
At one place.
Okay.
And it's basically at this point now there's a bit of like this friendship budding along with Euronymous is shaping
what it needs to look
like. What Varg, Varg wants to be like Euronymous, and he takes this shit super serious. Like Euronymous was like, he was a theistic Satanist and whatnot, and it was all cool with him. But, he actually believed in it, but he was more about marketing it, whereas Varg took him literally.
He couldn't separate the theater from the literal.
No. Which becomes a big problem with black metal.
Yeah. You have to have a very healthy relationship with death to be able to separate that, because it is very, very theatrical.
Those who gathered at Helvete have been referred to as the Black Circle or the Black Metal Inner Circle, a name allegedly invented by Euronymous. Of course.
Jesus.
Euronymous presented...
Allegedly.
Like, he is such an insufferable guy, right?
It's like, I did that.
Yeah. He's like...
I sliced bread.
He's like Puff Daddy.
You mean Diddy?
Yeah.
Like Prince.
Euronymous presented the Black Circle as an organized cult-like group of militant Satanists whose activities were funded by his record shop. And in 1993, a Kerrang article referred to them as satanic terrorists. Faust later said that it was just a name that was invented for the people who hung around the shop. There wasn't anything like members and membership cards in official meetings. Likewise, in his review of Lucifer Rising, Varg Vikernes said the so-called Black Circle was something Euronymous made up because he wanted to make people believe there was such a thing. But it was nonsense and never existed. The media, on the other hand, believe it existed, but quickly stopped talking about it when they understood it was a rumor.
Yeah, they're like, it was for a second, then it was like, oh, just kidding.
Yeah, the store is now a black metal museum.
Oh.
Yeah, it got closed as soon as real bad shit started happening. The Norwegian black metal scene was bitterly opposed to Christianity and organized religion as a whole.
Yeah.
In interviews during the early 1990s, Euronymous and other members of the scene presented themselves as militant, misanthropic devil worshippers who wanted to spread hatred, sorrow, and evil. They attacked their Church of Satan for being too humane. The theistic Satanism they espoused was an inversion of Christianity. Euronymous was the key figure behind this ideology.
Of course.
He professed to be in favor of totalitarianism and against compassion, peace, happiness, and fun. Everything must be evil and darkness. But everyone's
so nice.
Evil and darkness.
You can do that, but everyone needs to do it.
Darkness.
But you do you. We're fine.
When asked why such statements were made to the press, it was later said from a guy, an emperor, that I think it was very much to create fear among people. He added the scene wanted to be in opposition to society and tried to concentrate more on just being evil than
what is with the evil?
than having a real satanic philosophy. Vikernes said that the reason they claimed to advocate evil was to provoke people.
I hate you. You're provoking evil.
Maybe some bosom. According to the book Lords of Chaos, many who knew Euronymous said that the extreme satanic image he projected was in fact just that. A projection which bore little resemblance to his true personality. Pretty much everybody who said they did it, including the people who killed him, said that Euronymous, there was a lot of smoke, but not so much fire.
Bark was bigger than his bite.
He was he really was a devil worshiper.
But that's it.
But yeah, that's about it.
He just wanted to get the clout.
Yeah.
He was a clout chaser.
Some bands were interested in pre-Christian Norway and its traditions, and there was an undercurrent of romantic nationalism on the scene. Some of the scene members also flirted with Nazi imagery, but it was mostly just to piss off people. Euronymous claimed that almost all Norwegian black metal bands at the time were more or less Nazis. He was interested in totalitarian communist states and said he wished to see people rot under communist dictatorships.
That means you too, guys.
Yep. The scene, aside from him, aside from Euronymous and Varg trying to one-up each other,
yeah,
the scene was largely non-political, and still is. Just mostly anti-Christian.
Like these guys, the kids with money are being like, well, my band.
So, we come now to the church burnings. And this is like some of the coolest shit ever.
Okay. I'm going to trust you.
See this church?
Yeah.
That church is that church right there. That church right there, I'm pointing at a picture of the cover of Burzum's album Ask, which is Norwegian for ashes.
Wow.
Varg Vikernes at 6 a.m. on June 6th, 1992, walks into Fantoft Stave Church and burns it to the ground. Police believe immediately that he was responsible, and the cover of his album is a photograph of the destroyed church while it's on fire. On 16th of May, he was actually, in 1994, 2 years later, he was found guilty for burning down Holmoken Chapel, Skjold Church, and Asane Church.
Wow.
In addition, he was found guilty for an attempted arson of a fourth church and for the theft and storage of 150 kilograms of explosives. This prompted, like, everybody else on the black metal scene to start burning churches. It became a way of, like, celebrating. Faust, right around this time, kills somebody. He gets hit on by this gay guy at a bar, and he lures him out to the woods, making the guy think they're going to fuck, and he just stabs him 34 fucking times.
That's excessive.
And he comes back, and he tells Euronymous and Varg that he's like, I killed this guy last night. It was like on the news. He's like, I did that. And they're like, wow, that is really cool. You shouldn't say anything else, though. And Varg is like, no, we should go celebrate. We should go burn down a church. And then Euronymous is like, yeah, you remember the other day, maybe you shouldn't tell if you do tell anybody about you killing them, just don't tell anybody about how I was the one that told you to go do it, right? So there's this one-upmanship. They go celebrate, they burn down churches, and so many of the churches in Norway were these like medieval churches.
Yeah.
Built out of like wooden sticks and whatnot.
No.
And they were fucking beautiful.
Yeah, just that picture is... Yeah. Like... That's gorgeous.
Yeah. Beautiful churches.
I'd want to live there.
That's a weird one.
That's weird.
That looks like...
it looks like a yurt in a way. Just kind of
yurtish. It's a yurt. It's a yurt church. All these churches.
I can't.
But and all in all, it lasts a few years, and all in all, about 40 churches get burned. A couple of them get burned twice.
Jesus, after they're rebuilt?
Yeah. God. Faust killed Magnet Andresen, a gay man in Lillehammer, that one I was just telling you about, stabbed him 37 times and kicked him in the head repeatedly. He claimed he felt no remorse at the time. In the late 90s, he said of the murder, I was outside just wanting to get out some aggression. It's not easy to describe why it happened. It was meant to happen. If it was this man or another man, that's not really important. Remember that part, right? If it was this man or another man, it doesn't matter.
It's like you were the person that was in my line of sight.
Yeah. The media linked the murder to black metal, Satanism, and fascism. In 2008, Faust said, I was never a Satanist or a fascist in any way, but I put behind me the hatred and negativity. Those feelings just eat you up from the inside. They really do.
I could see that.
To dwell in that is not good.
No, that's not healthy. It's
important. It's important to, if you're somebody who feels these rage and hatred emotions, it's important to let them go, to allow them to, let them run their course, but don't let them drive.
Yeah, it's like feel the emotion, go through it, but don't sink in it.
Can you imagine if Pazuzu had lived in Norway in the 90s? Former friend of the pod, Pazuzu Algarad.
Yeah. I wonder how he's doing.
Well, dead.
Yeah.
He actually...
He probably would have...
He was a black metal fan.
He would have thrived.
After...
But you two were vastly different. Vastly different.
He was eventually arrested for this and confessed and got 14... and was sentenced to 14 years in prison, but only did like 9 years.
Still. He did a little bit more than half his time. Yeah.
So around Varg decides, you know what we need to do to gain our popularity is we need to tell them we're the ones burning the churches. We should pass this information along. And Euronymous is like, no, that's pretty stupid because there's murder and arson, and maybe we should just not. And Varg's like, yeah, you're right. And he goes home and he calls up this reporter, and he confesses to the murder in the park, and stupidly, some people I know, and the guy's like, well, how long have you been in this group? Well, me and another guy started it. Oh shit! And then the photographer and the journalist, they convince him to let them take pictures. So they give him like these weapons to hold, and he's like, you guys can't see my face, right? And they're like, no, we can't see it. We can't see your face. Let me find the, yeah, that picture right there. He's like, you guys can't see my face. They're like, no, just put the hair in front of your hair in front of your face. And no, we can't see that at all. And 2 days later, the cops show up at his door and they arrest him. But they don't really have anything on him, right? They don't really have any proof. They asked about one of them. He was like, they said, well, there's a dead rabbit at one of the front doors of one of the churches I burned down. And they're like, well, nobody else knew that. And he's like, well, everybody on the metal scene knows it. So they weren't able really to tie him to it, but they eventually did convict him of several of them.
Okay.
Oh, where was I? Yeah, so this causes this makes the black metal scene mainstream, right? It's all over the news. All the Norwegian Nancy Graces, they're just going fucking crazy on it. Because this satanic group called the Black Circle, and what ends up happening is Euronymous' parents were like, no more, and he had to close down Helvete. But at the same time, Varg's plan worked, because all of a sudden, the world knows about
black
them.
metal, yeah.
It's a thing now.
And then over here, Satanic Panic.
Yeah,
it just pushes it along.
They're feeding back and forth on each other. So Helvete began to draw the attention of police and media. Vikernes condemned Euronymous for shutting down the shop rather than taking advantage of the publicity, stating, by doing so, he made all my efforts more or less pointless. I spent 6 weeks in custody for no reason. Norwegian magazine Rock Fjord published an interview with Vikernes in February 1993. He talked about prison there, said, it's much too nice here. It's not hell at all. In this country, prisoners get a bed, toilet, and showers. It's completely ridiculous. I asked the police to throw me in a real dungeon and encouraged them to use violence. He was released in March for lack of evidence. Motherfucker wants to go to a dungeon. No, I am too evil for regular prison. I am too evil. There's not enough darkness. You're not beating me hard enough. Beat me harder, daddy.
I can't. But you're not wrong. That's literally how it sounds in my brain, though.
Yeah, so the Oslo police, shortly after this, dispatched its church fire group to Bergen, where they set up makeshift headquarters in a hotel, basically, to keep an eye on things, because this is where Varg was. Vikernes knocked on their door and forced his way into the police suite, dressed in chain mail, carrying 2 large knives, and flanked by 2 men who apparently behaved as if they were his bodyguards or henchmen. Vikernes stated he was fed up with being harassed by the authorities and that the police investigation into the black metal scene should be stopped. When the police told him he had no right to issue orders, Vikernes took 1 step back and raised his right arm in a Roman salute. You know what a Roman salute is, right?
Yes.
The Heil Hitler?
Yeah.
And this is why I say Vikernes is a big piece of shit. Not because he's a psychopath or a murderer, but because he's now this huge white supremacist. He went from, being a poser to being a true shit stain.
Yeah. You were okay. Yeah. And then you just got
a lot of the fucked up thing is a lot of these black metal guys ended up going that way. Some of them are pretty outspoken about it. I like Burzum. I like, Mayhem. I like Dissection. That we're going to get to them here shortly. We're almost to Dissection.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but they get into this like weird thing with the whole Viking stuff and there's all this white supremacist narrative that keeps going in, and it kind of ruins a lot of them. It's like, even like Amon Amarth, I really like them, but God, they're so racist, you know?
It's like, I want to like your stuff, I do. And
it's like I like their music is all about like Vikings and shit.
But like, what I don't like you as people.
But yeah, you're horrible people. So during this whole time, Euronymous and Varg, you know, there's a lot of stuff back and forth about them between like who's getting the royalties for Burzum and you know, how much of Mayhem's royalties does Varg get, because now he's the bassist of Varg of that, but you know, all the money that Burzum makes is being funneled into the Mayhem projects, you know. So there's like this like push and pull between it. And after, you know, shit goes south and Varg gets arrested and, you know, they have to close down the shit, he starts doing, you know, Euronymous is doing pretty good on his own. He finally agrees to basically transfer all rights to Burzum over to Varg, because Varg's like, I'm going to make my own. I'm going to do my own label. And so Euronymous is like, you know what, man? Cool. You know, this will end here's a contract. He mails him a contract. And, you know, what happened is shortly before this, Varg had heard rumors that Euronymous had been making death threats while Euronymous was locked up. Talking about how he was going to like tase him and videotape his torture and sell it as a snuff film, and like
Jesus
it
Christ.
was just talk, you know. Like everybody who told Varg this also said, but you know, that's not, he doesn't really mean it, man. He's just mad, you know, because he lost his stuff. He lost Helveta. He's upset. You know, he got over it. He wasn't never going to hurt Varg because they were kind of friends.
Yeah. If not partners, and he's going to want to make money.
Yeah. So, on the night of August 10th, 1993, Vikernes and Snorri Blackthorn
That's a name.
Drive from Bergen to Euronymous' apartment in Oslo. And boy, howdy, was that trip weird.
Why? Because
Varg, the cops were kind of watching Varg. So he had to like kind of sneak away. And he took the contract that Euronymous has sent him to sign.
Yeah.
And he gets his, you know, like sneaks out of the house and gets into this car that's parked like 2 blocks away. And he has Blackthorn like drive him while he's laid in the back seat covered up with blankets. And it's like a 3-hour trip to get from where they were to where to Oslo, where Euronymous was at. Right?
Jesus.
And they have to stop for gas along the way. But Blackthorn is broke, has no money. And Varg, only thing he has is his credit card. So he has Blackthorn go into the gas station with the credit card. He's like, I'll just report it stolen later. And the gas clerk's like, looks at Blackthorn and sees his ID, and then looks at the credit card. He's like, this ain't your credit card. He's like, no, that's him right there in the car. So the gas assistant has now seen Varg, has a copy of his fucking receipt for the gas.
Yeah, they're plotting his travels.
So regardless, Varg spends the rest of the trip in the back seat of this fucking car. And he gets there, there's a confrontation. Nobody really knows exactly what happened. But in the end, Vikernes stabs Euronymous to death. His body was found outside the apartment with 23 stab wounds, 2 to the head, 5 to the neck, and 16 to the back. It has been speculated that the murder was the result of a power struggle, a financial dispute over Burzum Records, or an attempt at outdoing the Faust stabbing in Lilyhammer. Vikernes denies this and claims he killed Euronymous in self-defense.
That's excessive self-defense.
He says, yeah, all the stabs to the back. He says Euronymous had plotted to stun him with an electroshock weapon, tie him up, and torture him to death while filming the event, using a meeting about an unsigned contract to ambush him. Vikernes claims he intended to hand Euronymous the signed contract and tell him to fuck off, but that Euronymous panicked and attacked him first. The self-defense story is doubted by Faust, while Necro Butcher believes Vikernes killed Euronymous due to the death threats he received. He later alleged that he also wanted to kill Euronymous due to him tastefully capitalizing on dead suicide.
Yeah.
Vikernes was arrested on 19 August of 1993, so like 9 days later, and many other members of the scene were taken in for questioning around the same time. Some confessed to their crimes and implicated others. In May 94, Vikernes was sentenced to 21 years in prison, Norway's maximum penalty. No matter what you do, it'll never be worse than 21 years in prison.
Yeah.
For the murder of Euronymous, the arson of 4 churches, and for possession of 150 kilograms of explosives. 2 churches were burned the day before he was sentenced, presumably as a statement of symbolic support. Blackthorn was sentenced to 8 years in prison for being an accomplice to the murder, even though all he did was sit in the car.
He still drove him.
Yeah, that month saw the release of Mayhem album De Mysteriis Dom Satanas, which features Euronymous on guitar and Vikernes on bass guitar. Euronymous' family has asked Mayhem's drummer to remove the bass track recorded by Vikernes, but Hellhammer said, quote, "I thought it was appropriate that the murderer and the victim were on the same record." Vikernes was released from prison in 2009. And he's still doing shit. This is pretty much where he leaves our narrative, except for one thing. Varg has created his own like D&D style RPG game.
What?
That's all grinding.
What?
Like, say you need to build armor.
Okay.
You gotta raise sheep. You gotta roll dice constantly to make sure those sheep eat, drink, get shorn. You gotta make wool. You gotta spin that wool. You gotta roll dice
for every step. That's excessive.
It's like the rule book is like 160 pages.
What is this game called?
Let me find it.
Because I would know.
I would actually play it. I would
know.
try it. Vikernes RPG.
Is it a tabletop or is it like a?
My Frog. Advanced Discrimination in Dragons. A critical look at Varg Vikernes' My Frog.
Wow.
I'm trying to... Oh, there's the website for it.
It looks like straight out of Tolkien.
It's so nerdy,
It looks like the Shire.
It is so nerdy. Like, you can... let's see here. Well, what is going on? Why can't I...
Just hit download.
Oh my god. Is it
There's a cookbook?
A what? A book with the recipes from all the realms and races of Tula, which is the world... By the way, Tula is connected to Nazism pretty hardcore. It goes back to like Helena Blavatsky and whatnot and Vril Energy. Oh, wow. I'm trying to find... Game features. There are variable degrees of success and failure. So you don't just like win, you win really good, or you win really bad.
Or it's just
A sword has a bigger chance to leave a bleeding wound than a club does. A club is more likely to knock you down or knock you out than a sword is.
Wow, that's every different aspect of the different types of weapons.
Yeah.
And, like, not just, okay. That's like, autistic D&D.
I mean, it's
like, what flavor of autism do you have this?
Oh, look, character sheets. Let's look at a character sheet.
Oh
my
wow.
God.
That's a lot. It's 2 pages? It's 2 pages?
I gotta download it.
Yeah, because let's look at it in a bigger window.
I see me and Mike playing this game.
I unfortunately see this happening
Holy
too.
shit, it looks like a tax form.
God.
Height, sex, character roles, age.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck.
Haminya?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Charisma, constitution, dexterity, that's willpower.
Yeah.
So many.
Value the modifiers. This is like.
Combat statistics.
Yeah. Your resistance to those things. If you have plus,
your
minus.
condition, tired, weary, exhausted, wet, soaking wet.
Wow.
Skill modification, acrobatics, acting, alchemy, climbing, dexterity, crafts, dancing, dodging, flute playing, foraging, fortitude, healing, lyre playing, mechanics, melee strength, missiles, navigation, percept, good. God almighty.
So, and then for each of these things, there is a descriptor and how it's done for the characters. Wow, that's a thick book.
It was apparently page 218 of their character books.
Wow. I would see that being a good 500 pages. Hello, Cthulhu. What's up, buddy? You look stupid. Like, you look confused, stupid. I still love you. You wanna come sit down? Come on, buddy. What? I see that waggly tail. Come on, come sit down.
Dwarves now have this special ability to know approximate direction and depth when underground. Light elves can sense sorcery within 60 of it. Jesus.
Yeah, it's just D&D broken down.
It is all grinding.
It's grinding, broken down feats and everything.
Yeah. I guess he started this when he was in prison, started putting it together, maybe. But
I could see that.
Yeah.
Like, how can I make D&D?
I'll play this game if I can get it without giving fucking Varg Vikernes a cent of my money.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much where Varg Vikernes goes in. Now, going back to, you remember the skull necklace?
Yes.
Remember what I said about how Euronymous would give them out to like different people that were up and coming?
Yes.
One of the people he gave a piece of that skull necklace to was a Swedish metal singer, Jon Nodvieght.
That's a name.
John, or perhaps Jon Nodvieght, was the frontman for Swedish extreme metal band Dissection. Dissection! One of my favorite fucking bands. I fucking love Dissection. I could, if I could only carry like 5 albums with me onto a desert island, things that I'd never get tired of listening to, Dissection's Ray and Chaos would be definitely on that list. I'd grab Ray and Chaos before I grabbed anything else, probably. It is a beautiful album. Alright, now enough of sucking this piece of shit's dick. He had a piece of this necklace. Dissection was basically a gospel band for the Misanthropic Luciferian Order, or also known as the Temple of Black Light. Currently is known as the Current 218.
What does that mean? I don't understand. There's so many words that I did not understand.
Remember we were talking about the Black Circle?
Yes.
All right. So the Black Circle had all these people in it, and during the time when Swedish black metal and Norwegian black metal were kind of clashing back and forth a little bit, some of them took some of the basic ideas of like Euronymous' and Varg's philosophy and created a huge, like, not huge, they never got really big, but like a really in-depth religion.
Okay.
Called All These Things.
All these words.
Let's go to the Temple of the Black Light. The Misanthropic Luciferian Order, or MLO, was a satanic occult order founded in Sweden in 1995 and later renamed Temple of the Black Light. It had 3 members, Vlad Nemesis Noshnud, I don't know, Jon Nodvieght, and another member who left the group early on. Johan Norman joined the order at the same time of John, but left when Vlad and John started to talk about committing violent acts. Vlad's girlfriend later became a supporting member. The group never grew beyond this size again, and after 2 earlier friends had dropped out, a sign of the membership, the 3 had a symbol tattooed on the arms. The vampire pentagram, which I was trying to show you earlier, but well, maybe I have to do it like this.
Or you can just type it down below vampire pentagram. That? Loki snoring. Oh, I just woke him up.
That's the Satanic Temple. God, so much weird shit. Can't even read all that.
Well,
look at all those. Look at all that black metal band names.
But I can't read.
Impossible. But yeah, that's from the Temple of the Black Light. And before that, the one that John and Vlad had. If they use the whole word. It's actually, I kind of want the other one. There it is.
I've seen that.
Yeah, that comes from the MLO, the Misanthropic Luciferian Order. They released their book, Liber Azerate, which is actually on this computer some fucking where. It's a grimoire written by founder Vlad Noshnud, whose title was Magister Temple and nicknamed Frater Neimdal. Such nerds. It was released on the internet in Swedish and Norwegian. Azerate is the hidden name of the 11 anti-cosmic gods described in the book. Which basically those gods are like Kali from Hindu mythology, Lucifer, Tiamat from Egypt. There's
wow. Yeah.
The related musical work is the 2006 dissection album Ray and Chaos, the lyrics of which were co-written by Vlad, and which Jon Nodvieght explained was based on the book Liber Azerat and the teachings of MLO. The MLO propagate not chaos Gnostic Satanism or Current 218. In 2010, a second book named Liber Falsifer was published. It is also a grimoire with spells and a commentary about Latin American death cults. It was released in limited editions. They believe in what they titled the Chaosophy. They believe in the Jewish and biblical creation theory of Adam and Eve and the existence of the Abrahamic God, or Yahweh, that, according to them, created the universe. But unlike followers of Abrahamic faith, they instead reject Yahweh and want to see this creation never have happened.
Okay.
Basically, God created the universe, and I don't like that shit. I don't be liking that. Right?
I get it.
I get it too. They say that chaos is an infinite dimensional and pandimensional plane of possibilities, in contrast to the cosmos, which is what we live in, which has only 3 spatial dimensions and 1 linear time dimension. They believe that in comparison with the linear time of the cosmos, chaos can be described as timeless in the way that it is not contained nor limited by one-dimensional time, and formless because of its ever-changing and infinite number of space dimensions.
Wow, okay.
Right?
That's a lot.
By creating 3-dimensional space and a timeline, you have lost that freedom of everything everywhere all at once.
You've put yourself in a box.
Right. Yeah. Militant neo-Gnosticism and misanthropy is taught within the group. Misanthropy is the general hatred, dislike, or distrust of the human species, human behavior, or human nature. A misanthrope is someone who holds such feelings, usually involves a negative, evaluative attitude towards humanity. I am pretty misanthropic,
Yeah.
And they say that true Satanists must not be part of modern society as it is founded upon lies. The very fabric of this reality is a lie that hinders chaos from realizing itself. Then there's all that stuff's kind of unintelligible without going into an entire episode about the Liber Azerate. But
we'll circle back to that.
They believe in like animal and human sacrifice. They meditate nonstop about it.
Okay.
They think about the stuff a lot. And let me look up just so you can see him. Jon Nodvieght. There he is. I actually was watching him last night in a interview from after that interview. Mm-hmm. This dude, I mean, look at those eyes.
They're piercing.
Yeah, but also kind of like this void.
They're very gray.
Yeah. Did they take a picture of his suicide? I didn't think so.
Look at all that long hair.
I know. God, I love Dissection, though. His music was so great. Anyway, they wanted to do human sacrifices, John and Vlad. And they were able to, talk some girl. She was like a 16-year-old girl. They talked her out to the woods, and then they murdered her. Nobody, this has never been proved. They were never charged with this murder. But it's kind of, well known that they did it, right?
Yeah. You can put the pieces together.
A few years later, Come on.
And this is where we're getting into all these murders.
Oh, yeah. It keeps on happening. Yeah, this was the Kaler Park murder. We're done talking about Burzum.
So why don't you just click the button?
What button? Because I want the tab. Tell me how to breathe.
Oh, so you do right click and open it in a tab.
Alrighty. The Kalers Park in Gothenburg, western Sweden. The body of an unknown man at this time, on July 23rd, 1997, was found discovered in a park in the city of Gothenburg. The man had been shot twice with a pistol. Once through the back, out through the heart, and then in the head once the guy was laying down.
Cat motherfucker.
The man who had been shot twice with a pistol was identified 2 days later as Yosef Ben Madur, an Algerian national and a homosexual who had been living in Sweden for about 10 years.
Okay.
The reason the Algerian thing mattered is during this time, Algeria had been involved in a civil war, and there was some speculation that during the first part of the investigation that it was actually an assassination because of the Algerian government and this guy, and it turned out, no, that wasn't it. Then they thought it was other shit. They eventually decided that, well, he was gay, so it must have been
a hate crime.
A hate crime. I don't think it was a hate crime.
He just happened to be the person that was there.
Just like, Faust said.
Like, you just happen to be the person that's
putting yourself in this dangerous situation.
Yeah,
right?
you are.
The story basically goes that the Algerian man Joseph approached John and Vlad one night outside one of the clubs or whatnot, and was like, "Hey, you guys are Satanists. Would you like to talk? Can we talk about it? I'd like to understand what you believe." And they're like, "Okay, sure. Let's go to the park, and we'll talk about it." So they go to the park, and at some point in time, let's see. They even say what happened here. Okay. The story that Vlad told was he and Nodvieght met Medur in the street of Gothenburg and invited him to follow them to Keiler's Park. There they tried to immobilize him. Their taser, it says here electroshock weapon. What they call it in like Norway and Sweden, electronic shock pistol.
I mean, that's what it is. That's what some of them look like now. They're guns.
But somehow it didn't work, right? And Medur tried to run away, but at this point, this is where their stories diverge. They each say the other guy shot him, right? They initially, John initially gets charged and sentenced to 8 years, which gets up to 10. Vlad, I think, does 10 years, and it actually goes up from there. He ends up getting in more trouble, I think, while he was in prison. But the two suspects at first denied any involvement. Nodvieght eventually confessed. His account started the night of the 21st of July to the 22nd, which he spent drinking at various pubs and clubs in Gothenburg, along with Vlad and two other friends. In the early morning, the two other friends headed home, while him and Vlad started roaming the city, talking about how they wanted to kill somebody for Satan. Next to a park locally known for a meeting place for gay men, they were accosted by a stranger, who at the sight of their clothes asked them if they were Satanists and told me want to learn about this cult. At first they pushed back, but the man insisted, so that's how they came to know him. They eventually invited him to follow them to Nodvieight's home. While on the way, Medur's behavior and speech made clear he was homosexual, which this is all the DA, the district attorney's theory. All right, which made Nodvieght and Vlad feel angry and offended. Once they reached Nodvieight's home, Medur appeared scared and refused to step in. Nodvieght and Vlad then suggested continuing their discussion about Satanism at Keiler's Park. The three men hit the streets again, but before they left, Nodvieght entered his flat to pick up the pistol and the taser. I think they already had that shit on them. And all this is just stuff to make the DA's story work.
Yeah, they're just filling in the blanks and not... You can't prove the story with saying these two guys are walking around and they're like, that's going to be our victim. That you can't sell that in a courtroom because there's no probable cause.
Yeah.
And they're just like, okay, but why? Because he was there, but why? We wanted to kill someone and he was in our line of sight and we said, that's the one.
Right, so when the arrests were made on the 15th and 18th of December of 97, police discovered altars in both of their homes. In both John's and...
I gotta clean mine.
Vlad's home. I got rid of mine. Mine was actually kind of based on Jon Nodvieht's. With the Baphomet and the skulls and whatnot. It was actually based on that.
Did I keep the Baphomet? No, I kept the Baphomet pendant.
Yeah.
I like Baphomet.
I do too. A human skull was also found at Vlad's place, which I found pictures of it. It looks like it was actually just dug out of a grave.
Yeah.
For which he was charged with possession of human parts. Nodvieght and Vlad were members of their satanic order, and according to the police, they never had more than a handful of followers. Rituals, you
get Charlie Manson in on this. Ooh-wee. They'd be more than creepy crawlies.
Yeah, and honestly, their murder reminds me a lot of Pazuzu's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Taking the guy out to the middle of nowhere and just shooting him.
Yeah. It fits.
Yeah. During the trial, the motives were not clear as to whether satanic crime, one of the human sacrifices that MLO members had talked about, or if it was rather a hate crime, motivated by the anger Nodvieght and Vlad felt when confronted with his homosexuality. And look, I'm just going to say it, at its heart, most black metal guys are a little gay. Right? I mean, all of them are,
probably a little bisexual.
Yeah. You can't tell me that Euronymous and Dead probably didn't fuck around. And there's actually like some fanfic out there about Varg and Euronymous, and but
I mean, like, you look at some of these, like, really dark bands today, like, it's called fan service. Like, you're gonna... Yeah.
Look at him.
Looks like Aaron.
He does look like fucking Aaron. I didn't want to say it.
Looks like Aaron. That creeped the fuck
out. Except Aaron doesn't have those dead eyes that Jon Nodvieght does.
Sometimes he does. Sometimes Aaron would have dead eyes when he was really angry.
I miss Aaron. I wish we were still friends. Yeah, so Jon Nodvieght goes to prison. And while in prison, he works on his album and whatnot. He's decided that he's going to rebuild Dissection.
Okay.
That is his number one cause in this world.
That's what's motivating him to live. Got it.
And he gets out of prison and he does that interview that I was talking about. Not once during this hour interview does he show and this is like right after he got out, a shred of remorse. He talks about how his ideas about liberty and independence and freedom have been like changed by prison. Nothing about the man he killed, right? He did not give a flat fuck about it. In fact, if anything, he leans towards like this. The experience of going to prison is almost like was my reward. And because it allowed me to focus on Ray and Chaos, which is the album.
Jesus.
So Ray and Chaos comes out, and it is amazing. I mean, fucking amazing. Like literally the best metal album of all time, in my opinion. It is. It has songs to ancient gods, songs about one of my favorite lyrics. Is in the song Black Dragon. We evoke the Black Dragon of Chaos. Open up your black diamond eyes and rejoice as Ra's creation dies.
That's like, very Discord.
I fucking love...
Look at our cats.
No. I fucking love Ray and Chaos. And it looks like things are on the up and up for him. He does a little tour and does this album release. He does this thing. And he basically decides that his whole purpose in living has been to serve Satan and has been to get this message out. And he basically said that I've done it. I have done all I can do to spread the kingdom of Satan. And he goes home and he gets a copy of the Liber Liberazate in front of him, surrounds himself in a circle of fucking candles, writes a couple of suicide notes, both that say, I think one to his dad and one to his girlfriend or something like that, which both all mention nothing about the guy he killed, but says, I have done all I can for Satan. Blows his brains out surrounded by in a circle of candles.
He was like, this is art.
Yep. When he died, his necklace that had a piece of dead skull was given
God.
To
Da-da-dee, da-da-da-da.
To where is he? On Mario Makikoni. From the Beasts of Satan. Satan! Not Beast of Stan. Look, it's Grunkle Stan and Beast from...
On point. Google algorithm on point.
They're a satanic group, right? Members of which were tried and convicted of a series of satanic ritual murders between 1998 and 2004. Jesus. I don't know a lot about this one.
Up here.
They killed up to 18. They were confirmed of killing 4.
Confirmed?
Yeah.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
There we go.
I still have to learn more about this, so there's going to be a whole other episode about this one. Because this one is chock full of murder.
Moida? With Moida
and the Beasts of Satan!
Poor Loki was like, the fuck is happening?
But the thing it's weird, right? You remember that Dead started this movement along with...
Let's blow our brains out.
Right, along with Euronymous. And his piece of his skull has traveled across Europe like the Spear of Destiny. And with it has followed nothing but chaos and death. Which is what he wanted.
Where is it now?
I have no idea. Last place I know is that, it went to these guys in Italy, the Italian, it made its way into the Italian death metal scene. That's all I know. And I just, like I said, just found out that part of it recently.
Wow. So the goal is now find out where it is.
Yeah. Find it. It's like the pick of destiny. Tenacious D.
That doesn't belong in there. That's kitty food.
It won't hurt them.
Yeah, they eat.
So what'd you think about that long story?
There was a lot of death.
Yeah. It's like a surprising amount, right? Like, it kind of puts the East Coast, West Coast rap battles to shame.
How, not even how fucking metal it was. Rap battle, death. You want death. I'll give you death, bitch. Evil. Yeah.
Darkness. It's all darkness.
But, surprisingly, well, also not surprisingly, but, for that time period, surprisingly, the nerds.
Yeah, right?
Nerds.
These fucking nerds. The nerds you pick on in school, don't do that shit, because look what happens. I was a nerd. I got picked on in school. I love black metal.
I did too. But...
You didn't get into black metal.
No. I was just very active in my gay community.
I was very active in my worship the devil and do drugs and kill yourself community, of which I was the only member. So, I was the only one. Frankie was close.
Yeah.
Yeah, Frankie was the only person in my neighborhood that was anything like me.
My mom...
Hi, Frankie.
Hi, Frankie. We love you. But I think because my mom tried so hard to keep it away from me, that's why it took me so long to get to it. Because she grew up, she was born in 62. So she grew up during Satanic Panic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and my dad was born in 51. So he saw what was happening with it. Just being on, my dad being black and, seeing it from a very different side. and my mom being young and going through it, very different perspectives. My dad, when I started getting into like darker musics and stuff, my dad was like, no, let this happen. Let her go through it because she'll be able to talk about it. My mom was like, no. And it strained everything with us, where my dad was like encouraging it for me to understand it because he was very musical. So it was very push and pull. So, but if I would have found this at the wrong time, again, I would not be here. Like,
now, did this just because I actually really want to hear. Remember when we were going through it and we were talking, that came up that there was a Japanese band
yes,
in this metal scene? Well, yeah. I want to hear it.
Okay. Let's
check out something from that era.
They just put something out.
Yeah, but let's hear something from the era when they were hanging out with the Black Circle.
You have it on mute.
1 second. Let me. All right, so you couldn't hear our talking while that was playing because it would have been looping through the microphone and
it's just not
a nightmare. But actually, as a black metal fan, give Psy a shot. They're SIGH, like
heavy Psy.
Yeah, check them out. They're pretty awesome black metal, as you could just probably heard.
Yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, that encapsulates kind of a how the sound of black metal is.
Yeah, just with like that little bit that we listened to, like just looking at some of the bands that are out now, like I enjoy baby metal. Like looking at this, I'm like, oh yeah, I could definitely see where they drew influence. So there's a lot of Japanese metal bands that I've scrolled through and listened to. They are very good. If you want some nice metal.
Hell yeah. And just so everybody gets to hear what I was talking about with Dead's voice. The next little clip you hear is going to be a clip from Frozen Moon, which is the song I was reading the lyrics from. And... So what'd you think of that?
That sounds like someone I would want to not be around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like not okay.
His voice is great. Great voice for that. Like, it's to me, it's like his voice, like I said, that's why so much, even Psy was trying to emulate his sound. Which, like I said, it comes from that whole Odin thing, but yeah, his voice was perfect for that music. It was not meant to be melodic and beautiful. There was meant to be some of that, but only in its destruction, right? Like a lot of black metal songs start off with like these like real kind of pretty intros, but then they just destroy it.
Yeah.
It's about destruction and death.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, And
just know that whole time during the intro, he was probably huffing dead crow. The whole time he wasn't singing, he was probably sniffing a rotting crow.
Jesus Christ.
Dead. Hashtag about that life.
No, thank you. It's like I like the music without the words.
You don't like the growl, the snarls.
No.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I appreciate the music for what it is. I don't like the voice.
I actually like it, but I like that style of music kind of naturally.
Yeah. I'm just a little, no. These are my tweezers.
Fine. Well, that has been the story of black metal and murder. I like my coffee black. Just like my metal.
Yes, we do. Actually, I don't like murdery coffee. I like creamer in my coffee, especially flavored ones.
Yeah. My coffee is so black it wears corpse paint.
Like Corpse Husband? Not really.
I wish.
I do love me some Corpse Husband. Kyoga's good. Yeah.
Well, it's been fun, guys. Next time I get a hair across my ass, you'll hear more about something. Or Jessica, she has all the... She has the ability to call one, too.
I do. Do I have the spoons for it? Probably not.
I usually don't have spoons either, but here we are.
Here we are.
We talked about some cool shit. You learned a thing or two.
Yeah. Let's see if I can learn you a thing or two.
Yeah. I did a whole hour and almost 2 hours of mansplaining.
But I didn't know anything about this. See, the thing is, you know lots of stuff. I don't know lots of stuff.
Because I'm autistic and I get hyper fixated on things.
Exactly. Where that's not me. Ain't that right, Chunk? Here he comes to get some lovin's. Oh. You gonna come say bye, Chunky?
Until next time, people. It's been fun. It's been real.
It's been like a coffee break.
Don't huff any dead animals.
Don't burn any churches, please.
Well,
don't burn any
Be
churches.
nice to cats. Don't
Please
huff dead animals. Don't. If you have thoughts of suicide, please call a friend or the suicide prevention line. Fun fact, Ted Bundy worked for the suicide prevention hotline for a while.
Well then.
Right? It's kind of like, you save a few, you kill a few.
It evens out. Unfortunately.
So yeah, call the suicide prevention hotline. You might get to talk to Ted Bundy.
Reach out to us if someone needs someone to talk to. I like that stuff.
Yeah, don't do anything that Varg or Euronymous or Dead would think is cool.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything there except for listen to their music. It was pretty awesome art.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that's it for now, guys. One day you can send us money on Patreon. We're under Stoner's Point Podcast, so
you can find us on Discord at Stoner's Point.
Yeah, Stoner Chats.
And if you ever want to play with us me on Animal Crossing, I can get that stuff to you guys. Animal Crossing and Palia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well.
Alrighty, Aphrodite.
Yeah. Time to go cook some kielbasa.
That my mom made. Yay!